See if Cliff Fork 2 is available. Alright, you guys have some ID on you?
I'm 300 clear for 2. I'm clear, I'm on the logo.
Are you guys married, boyfriend, girlfriend? Okay. Why would you do this in the middle of the park?
3, I copy you at a point door. Do you want another unit since it's a large building?
Alright.
Well, yeah, but it's all.
I understand.
Get over it unless I climb.
Do you have your ID, ma'am?
It's in my car
Where's your car at?
on the other side.
Obviously, it's an arrestable offense, you know that. I'm not trying to lock anybody up. I think things got out of control, but it was plain to see in a public area you guys are engaging in sexual conduct, so this is your summons. And I'll give this to her. Do you have any questions on that?
This man was a pastor, a political candidate, and a married father of 3 daughters. But on this day, police found him in the back of an SUV in a public park, with his pants down, and a woman who wasn't his wife. What his wife did after finding out shocked everyone. It was a regular afternoon in Mansfield, Ohio, when police got a call about suspicious activity in a local park. When officers arrived, they found an SUV parked in a public area. Inside the vehicle, 2 people were in the back seat. The windows were fogged up. The car was rocking slightly. When the officer approached and knocked on the window, what he saw was clear. 2 people engaging in a sexual act. Right there, in broad daylight, in a public park where families and children come to play. The officer asked them to step out of the vehicle. The man quickly tried to pull his underwear back up. His face showed panic. The woman looked embarrassed and confused. The officer asked if they were married. The man said they were boyfriend and girlfriend. The officer asked why they would do this in the middle of a public park. There was a long pause. No real answer came. The woman's ID was in her car on the other side of the park. That's when things got even more complicated. The officer recognized the man, not personally, but from his community work. This wasn't just some random guy caught making a bad decision. The officer told them it was clearly an arrestable offense. He said things had gotten out of control, but it was plain to see. In a public area, they were engaging in sexual conduct. The officer handed them both citations for public indecency. And that's when the story really began. Because the man in that back seat wasn't just anyone. His name is Aaron Williams Jr. He was 56 years old at the time of his arrest. For years, Aaron wasn't just known in Mansfield, Ohio. He was respected. He was the pastor of Maddox Memorial Church of God in Christ, a well-established church in the area. But it wasn't just any church. It was the church his late father founded. Aaron grew up in that church. He took over leadership after his father passed away. On the church's website, Aaron was described as a devoted husband, a proud father of 3 beautiful daughters, a Gulf War veteran who served his country with honor. He wasn't just a Sunday morning preacher. He was the president of the youth department for his entire church district. He worked with young people. He gave sermons about living right, about faith, about family, about making good choices. People in the community looked up to him. Parents trusted him with their kids. Families invited him into their homes. Church members called him for advice during hard times. But Aaron's reach went beyond the church walls. In 2024, he ran for Richland County Commissioner as a Democratic candidate. He wanted to serve the public in a new way. He campaigned on honesty, character, and community service. He didn't win. He got 28% of the vote and lost to his Republican opponent, Darrell Banks. But people still saw him as a leader, someone with a future in public service. The church website said Aaron was a man who lives to please God, serve his people, and inspire transformation in everyone he encounters. That's who people thought he was. A man of God. A family man, a community leader, a role model. But now, that image was shattered. Because the woman in the car with him that day, she wasn't his wife. Court records later confirmed it. The 46-year-old woman caught with Pastor Aaron in that SUV was not the woman he stood next to in church every Sunday. Both of them were charged with public indecency. Both pleaded not guilty in Mansfield Municipal Court. But the damage was done. The man who preached about living right had been caught doing wrong. In public, in broad daylight, with someone else's body pressed against his in the back of a car. And the whole town was watching. Before we get into what happened next, and trust me, you won't believe what his wife did. Let me ask you something. If you're already shocked by this story, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Turn on notifications so you don't miss stories like this. We cover cases that make you think, make you question, and make you wonder what you would do. And drop a comment right now. I want to know what you think. Should public figures like pastors and politicians be held to higher moral standards than everyone else? Or are they just human like the rest of us? Let's talk about it. Now, back to what Pastor Aaron did after getting caught. After the arrest, both Pastor Aaron and the woman were formally charged with public indecency, a misdemeanor offense in Ohio. They both showed up to Mansfield Municipal Court, and when asked how they pleaded, both said the same thing. Not guilty, that's right. Despite being caught by a police officer in the act, in a public park, in broad daylight, they both entered pleas of not guilty. The woman's identity was kept mostly private, but court records confirmed one important detail. She was 46 years old, and she was not Aaron Williams' wife. As word spread through Mansfield, the story grew bigger. People started talking. Church members had questions. The local news picked it up. Social media exploded. A pastor, a political candidate, caught with another woman in a parked car. Everyone wanted to know what he would say, how he would explain it, whether he would apologize. But what came next wasn't what anyone expected. Instead of admitting fault, Pastor Aaron went on the defense. He didn't apologize. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't acknowledge the pain he might have caused his wife, his daughters, or his church. Instead, he blamed everyone else. In a public statement, he said people were too quick to find fault with churches. He claimed the whole situation was being blown out of proportion. He said, and I quote, "I'm not a villain." He went on to say that people always want to look for something the church is doing wrong. That this was just another example of the world trying to tear down men of faith. He added that he never claimed to be perfect. He said he never said he was better than anyone else. Never said he was holier than anyone. But here's the thing. He didn't have to say it. His job said it for him. When you stand in front of a congregation every Sunday and preach about righteousness, fidelity, and living according to God's word, you don't have to claim you're holier. People already see you that way. That's the responsibility that comes with being a pastor, with being a leader, with being someone people trust. And instead of owning that, Aaron deflected. But he didn't stop there. He suggested that maybe someone had a political motive to come after him. He asked if people were targeting him because he ran for public office the year before. He questioned whether someone saw him as a threat. He said, "Is it because I ran for office last year, or because somebody perceives me as a threat?" He talked about how he got along with people from both political parties, how he wasn't a troublemaker, how he didn't go around tearing down campaign signs in people's yards. He even mentioned that he went out to lunch with his opponent after losing the election, as if being polite to a political rival somehow proved his innocence in this completely unrelated scandal. It was classic blame shifting. He made himself the victim. He painted the situation as an attack, a setup, a witch hunt. Not once did he take responsibility for his actions. Not once did he say, "I made a mistake. I hurt people. I'm sorry." Let's be clear about what we're talking about here. This wasn't just any man caught in a bad situation. This was a pastor, a man who built his entire life and career on teaching others how to live morally. Every Sunday, he stood behind a pulpit and preached about faithfulness, about honoring your marriage vows, about resisting temptation, about being a man of integrity. He led youth programs. He counseled married couples. He prayed with families going through tough times. He ran for political office on a platform of character and community values. And then he got caught half naked in a public park with a woman who wasn't his wife. And instead of admitting he was wrong, he blamed the media. He blamed the public. He blamed politics. He said he never claimed to be perfect. But that's not the point. The point is that when you accept the role of pastor, you accept a certain level of responsibility. You become a role model. People look to you for guidance. They trust you with their secrets, their struggles, their faith. And when you break that trust, the least you can do is own it. But Aaron didn't. He doubled down. He made excuses. He pointed fingers. And that made everything worse. Because now it wasn't just about what he did. It was about how he responded. It wasn't just a moment of weakness. It was a pattern of refusing to be held accountable. And people noticed. After the scandal broke, everyone had the same question. What would his wife do? Would she leave him? Would she speak out? Would she stay silent? The answer came a few weeks later. And it wasn't what anyone expected. Pastor Aaron returned to his church. And his wife stood right beside him. Not quietly, not in the background. Front and center. At a church anniversary service, she took the microphone in front of the entire congregation. And what she said left people speechless. She thanked everyone for their support through what she called tough times. She praised God for allowing them to enter the house of worship again. She said their hearts were encouraged. Then she turned her attention to her husband. She called him a wonderful support, a loving partner, someone who saw gifts in her and pushed her to be better. She thanked him for encouraging her even when she didn't want to step out front. And then, in front of everyone, she did something that shocked the room. She gave him money. She called it sowing a seed into him. She said she wasn't just giving to her husband or her friend, she was giving to her pastor. She said she knew she was sowing into good ground, that God would bring a harvest of return, not just for her, but for him. The congregation erupted in applause. Pastor Aaron stood there, accepted the gift, and smiled. No shame, no apology, no acknowledgement of what had happened just weeks earlier in that park. Instead, he gave his own speech. He thanked church leaders. He thanked visiting pastors. He talked about his father's legacy. He joked about sweet treats being handed out after the service. He acted like nothing had happened, and his wife stood beside him the entire time, nodding and smiling. When videos of the church service hit social media, the reactions were immediate and divided. Some people saw it as beautiful, an act of grace, forgiveness in action, a wife choosing to stand by her husband in his darkest moment. They praised her faith. They called her strong. They said this is what real Christian love looks like. But others saw something different. They saw denial, enabling. A woman pressured by her church and her role as First Lady to stay silent and supportive, even when her husband humiliated her publicly. They asked hard questions. How can you preach about accountability and then refuse to be accountable? How can you stand in front of a congregation and act like nothing happened? How can a wife give money to her husband after he was caught cheating on her in a public park? Some said it wasn't loyalty. It was survival. A woman trapped in a system that values the man's leadership over her dignity. Others said it wasn't their place to judge, that what happens in a marriage is between a husband, wife, and God. But one thing was clear. People were talking, and opinions were strong on both sides. While the church moved on, the legal system didn't. Pastor Aaron Williams Jr. was found guilty of public indecency. Judge David Badnell handed down the sentence, 30 days in jail. But the sentence was suspended. That means Aaron wouldn't actually go to jail, as long as he stayed out of trouble. The conditions were simple. No violations in Richland County for 1 year. If he kept his nose clean, the jail time would go away. He was also fined $50 and ordered to pay court costs. That's it. $50. For a crime that destroyed his reputation, humiliated his family, and shook his entire community. He had been scheduled for trial on November 20th, but with the guilty verdict, the trial never happened. The legal chapter closed quickly, but the moral questions remained. So here's where we are. A pastor who preached about living right was caught doing wrong. He blamed everyone but himself. His wife publicly forgave him and gave him money in front of their church. The congregation applauded. The legal system gave him a slap on the wrist. And now he's back in the pulpit like nothing ever happened. Which brings us to the real questions. Was this grace? Or was it denial? Is forgiveness supposed to come without accountability? Or does real forgiveness require the person to admit they were wrong first? Should a leader who refuses to take responsibility still be allowed to lead? Or does everyone deserve a second chance, no matter what they did? And what about his wife? Was she showing incredible strength and faith? Or was she trapped in a role that didn't give her any other choice? These aren't easy questions, and I'm not here to tell you the answers, but I want to know what you think. So here's what I want to know from you. Was the wife's response an act of grace and forgiveness, or was it denial and enabling? Should a pastor who refuses to take accountability keep leading his congregation? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. I read every single one, and I want to hear what you think about this. If this story had you hooked from start to finish, smash that like button and share this with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe if you haven't already. We cover stories like this every week that make you question everything. And before you go, let me ask you this. What would you do if this was your spouse? Your pastor? Think about it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.